And now, the general weather around Alaska. Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Saturday, February 24th, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information that I provide on top of what I provide in this YouTube broadcast, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It brings you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left and tabs for all of the territories. And this allows you to get weather information for anywhere in the country. You can pop up a forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories for anywhere in the country to check up on family and friends, as well as in case you're traveling somewhere. And of note, on this Saturday afternoon, we have red flag warnings for high fire danger in portions of Alabama and Georgia, back up here into the Central Plains, Kansas, Nebraska, Northeast Colorado. Strong winds will overspread the Rockies later this weekend into early next week, along with the potential for heavy snowfall, especially in through mountainous areas of Idaho, western Montana, western Wyoming, down in the Wasatch of Utah, and the mountains of northeastern Nevada. Here in Alaska, the snow is diminishing now across the Anchorage Bowl, but not before over 5 inches of snow fell in Anchorage at Ted Stevens Airport. And this kicks up the snowfall total there for the 5th snowiest winter on record now, as far as measurements go from Ted Stevens Airport in Anchorage. And I'll give you a little more info on that coming up. Winter weather advisories will be allowed to expire this evening and later tonight across areas of South Central and Central and southern parts of the Panhandle. 2 to 5 inches of snow will fall this Saturday evening through early Sunday morning. Petersburg, Wrangell, down around Prince of Wales Island, including Klawock and Craig. But conditions should be improving there later Sunday morning and for the afternoon. And what we're keeping an eye on is a pattern change. We're going to see temperatures turn quite a bit colder here next week, especially mid and late week across the mainland. Colder air, Arctic air is going to push southward from north to south, and that's going to be helped along by an area of low pressure in the Gulf early next week. And once we get northeast to north winds on the backside of that low, that's going to help draw down the colder air across the mainland, and especially along areas of the west coast and the Alaska Peninsula. Quick check of a few of the webcams this Saturday afternoon. Etkasuk is 17 below. They were down to 25 below this morning for the coldest temperature in the state. Bright blue sky. And then Anatuvik Pass, low ceilings, 6 below. These areas will first see the coldest air, and that'll begin to shift southward here as we go through the upcoming week. Anchorage area, little lingering light snow flurries, some lower cloud cover, 27 degrees, as I mentioned, officially at the airport, Ted Stevens Airport. 5.2 inches of snow fell through 3 p.m. this Saturday afternoon. Wrangell, overcast 36. You're going to see the snow moving in here this evening and overnight. Kind of interesting shot there in Wrangell. We have a little band of lower stratus clouds there just above the water. But otherwise, a brief period of moderate snow moving through areas of the Panhandle. But just to kind of bring things up to date, and I'll have another graphic tomorrow that kind of highlights where Anchorage is in its all-time highest snowfall totals. But for Ted Stevens, as of 3 p.m., the observation 5.2 inches of snow was measured. So that bumps up the season total to 118.8 inches of snow at Ted Stevens Airport. There are places on the east side of Anchorage that have easily had 140 inches of snow this winter. This is now the 5th snowiest winter on record. A normal winter season based on the 30-year climatological average is 77.9, just shy of 78 inches. So we're just continuing to smash the record there, and we still have March and early April to go, which can bring a fair amount of snow at times, depending on the type of pattern we get into. We have some advisories that are still up. The one up here along the Arctic coast is for blowing snow, Point Laydown to Point Hope. Still some areas of blowing, drifting snow, reducing visibility, but not quite as bad as the past couple of days. That will expire 3 a.m. Sunday morning. The winter weather advisory for Anchorage Bowl goes till 11 p.m. and then this eastern Kenai up to the west-northwest side of Prince William Sound until 1 a.m. These areas here still could pick up maybe an additional 1 to 2 inches of snow. Anchorage area less than an inch. The bulk of the notable accumulating snow has ended. And then here in the Panhandle, we have The area of Petersburg and Wrangell down through Prince of Wales Island, expect 2 to 5 inches of snow potentially tonight into early Sunday morning. The area highlighted in blue is for next week. That low pressure I speak of that's going to be crossing the Gulf will push in another round of some moderate snowfall, maybe 4 to 6 inches of snow early next week as that system works east. So that's just kind of a heads up for that for those of you in the southeast. Now looking at the satellite imagery on this Saturday afternoon, we have the one low here in the northwest corner of the Gulf. There's another little low here just off of Sitka. That's what's going to bring in some moisture and that little burst of snow in through central southern panhandle tonight, early Sunday morning. We have another low lifting out of the North Pacific that'll be crossing the central Aleutians on Sunday. That low will then move up into the lower Bering, head on over toward Bristol Bay, and then secondary development will occur here in the western Gulf, and that'll be the low that helps draw down much colder air on northeast and north winds here as we go through, say, Tuesday, Wednesday. So looking at the weather map as of this afternoon, we have 2 lows in the Gulf. The one that's back here that brought the snow to Anchorage, this one here is the one that's going to bring the snow to central southern parts of the Panhandle tonight. And then the weakening low up here, north side of the Seward Peninsula around Shishmaref. Still some gusty winds up there along the northwest Arctic coast and a little blowing snow, but that should be improving as that low lifts northward and the pressure gradient relaxes. Here comes the next low that'll be crossing the Aleutians tomorrow. And by late tonight, early Monday morning, we find we have the one low here in the southern panhandle. That will continue eastward. The low up there along the northern portion of the Seward Peninsula outside of Kotzebue Sound, that will continue to weaken. And then here comes the low down there. By Sunday afternoon, the low will be passing north of the central Aleutians, west of the Pribilofs. Frontal system arcing ahead of it. We have the other low in the far north lifting further back toward the north and northwest. High pressure ridge bubbling southeastward. The low remnants here in the southeast into British Columbia with a trough back out across the Gulf. But keep an eye on this triple point here. That's where secondary low development will happen as we get into Monday. So the main low will come over toward Bristol Bay. This system could provide some snow and blowing, drifting snow along areas of the southwest coast as we go through later Sunday, early Monday. So be aware of that. There's potentially could be advisories issued for that. But here's the secondary development, and this is going to become the main low as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. And as that low crosses the Gulf, it's going to spread another round of moisture along this front into the Panhandle. So the Panhandle will be getting another round of snow, say Monday night into Tuesday. So be aware of that. But as the low sits and spins here, it's going to draw down much colder, a reinforcing shot of Arctic air on northeast and north winds down the interior and through the west side of the state and then crossing the Alaska Peninsula. So we are definitely going to see a cool down across much of the state here as we go through next week, especially centered on mid and late week. Looking at low temperatures tonight, readings will get below freezing in most areas of the Panhandle except for maybe around Metlakatla down their way in the south end. Interior 11 below, potentially there in the Copper River Basin, teens into the Anchorage Bowl, especially if there's any clearing. We're going to be now, the full moon occurred this Saturday morning, so we'll be just a day past that come morning. Temperature Sunday afternoon above freezing, central southern Panhandle 38 or so. Craig on over toward Ketchikan, 36 Sitka. Only in the 20s here, though, across the west side of the Kenai Peninsula on up to Talkeetna and Anchorage. And then lows Monday morning, 20 below. This is just the beginning. 20 below there in the Copper River Basin, single digits now, getting back down along Anchorage, the west side of the Kenai Peninsula. Some teens showing up Monday morning here in through the northern and Panhandle back toward Petersburg and Wrangell. And then temperatures could still be up a little above freeze, just above freezing in the south end of the Panhandle, but otherwise expect colder temperatures in the 20s across the north end and along the inner channel, especially along the intercoastal mountains there. And then back to the west, 38 down there at Kodiak City, mid-20s for Anchorage. Now we're going to see the cold expand here across the far north. As I mentioned, this morning we had temperatures in the 20s below. We'll see 20s to near 30 below in some spots here of the north slope along the Arctic coast. Also getting colder, Yukon Flats. High temperatures stay below zero, Yukon Flats along the Brooks Range, north slope, Arctic coast. Come Monday morning, look at this, 30s below. That's going to be expanding as we go into midweek, much colder temperatures. 20s and 30s below there, north slope along the Arctic coast and in through the east central interior, even getting below zero along coastal areas there of the Seward Peninsula and Norton Sound. And then temperatures on Monday for highs, single digits to single digits below zero. And in the southwest interior, readings could be down near or just above 0 to 5 above. Generally around and above freezing as you tail out along the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians. Sunday afternoon, we do expect with that frontal system working eastward, a little bump in the temperatures around, say, Nikolsky and Dutch Harbor. And then on Monday morning, we start to see some temperatures here as you go up the Yukon River, the upper Kuskokwim Basin, getting below zero. Teens, though, there is going to be that front push up in here with snow and blowing snow. So this area here may actually see temperatures in the teens, but keep that in mind. South there in the warmer air, temperatures will be in the low mid 30s. And then temperatures Monday afternoon as that front tries to push up. We're going to have that low move into this position with the secondary development over here. Temperatures could be in the 35 to near 40 degree range from around King Salmon and Kodiak City southwestward back through Dutch Harbor. So we'll take a look at how are temperatures shaping up here to start off March. We know we're going to end the last couple days of February below normal or trending that way. So the first few days there of March 5th, 1st through the 5th, we expect temperatures to average below normal across much of the state with the greatest likelihood over areas of south central or much of the southeast mainland, including the northern half of the Panhandle. So expect some colder air here to bring in the month of March. Precipitation is expected to average near normal across the central interior, all along the Yukon River Valley, northward up along the Arctic coast, west coast. But precipitation could average a little above normal or trend above normal for areas along and south of the Alaska Range, south central, southeast mainland, and in through areas of the northern and inner channels here of the Panhandle to start out March.